So I think that the wisdom of the crowd would probably place me around a 3 or a 4, and I rate myself a 4.
You got to give yourself more credit than that, dude.
Yeah, you really do.
Well, so no, stop, right? This is what I do is I look around at the reality that I live in. And the reality that I live in, I see dudes who are super stacked and they're ripped and they have youth on me and all sorts of different things.
Yep.
And based on those criteria of purely physical, we're not talking about personality. I know I'm awesome, right? I have the greatest personality ever. I'm hilarious, great. We're just talking about objective beauty standards. That's it.
But you have a
That's
cute
all
face.
we're talking about.
Not besides your body, you have a cute face.
Aw.
Yeah, I get that, but there's lots of men who
you're
have a
welcome.
cute face, and then they have the knockout bod to go with it and everything else, right? So what I'm saying is that I think that the standard, the wisdom of the crowd would be about on par with where I'm putting myself. And so the reason I asked this question is because I was hoping that I wouldn't get a room full, because every woman who's on this show apparently is the most beautiful. They're in the top tier of the most beautiful women in the world. And you can see where I would be skeptical as to hearing that claim over and over and over again without thinking that maybe I'm being gaslit a bit, or perhaps people weren't being particularly honest with me. So I thought I would reframe it differently with the wisdom of the crowd, and yet somehow I still end up with the same exact answer. Apparently 1,000 men would also rate you to the same beauty standard that you would rate yourself, which is crazy to me. Don't you think that that's a little bit sus? It's a little bit like, nah, maybe you're
Men
not
aren't that
quite
picky.
being honest. No?
Yeah, it's sus. I think people here
Yeah.
are lying.
But don't you think
Yeah,
there's a
it's a-
reason why, maybe?
I think
What,
people
yeah,
wanna
what
feel
is,
why
what,
they're-
tell me, what
why
is the
about
reason?
Same
themselves.
results.
You mean delusion? Is that the reason?
No, why is there
Everyone
the
at the
same
same
results if you keep doing, if you're doing something different, why are you getting the same results then?
Well, actually, I just did something different. I just did something different. So usually the definition of insanity, which I think you're alluding to, which, by the way, this isn't the definition. It's some like weird layman that came out of the 90s from a bunch of stupid teachers. But how it goes something like this. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So I introduced a completely different hypothetical and still got the same result, which makes me think maybe I'm not insane, but rather the people I'm talking to might be suffering a bit from delusion.
Okay,
I agree.
I'm saying something completely different. You didn't even understand it. I said, if you're framing it differently and you're getting the same answer, then there's a variable here that's not being addressed.
What's the variable?
Maybe it's the context in which, like, what is the point of the question, like, is what I want to know.
Well, I'll tell you. I'll explain it to you so that you know.
Okay.
The point of the question is to ascertain between men and women who is more or less delusional about what the physical characteristics that they have externally presented to other people are actually perceived, right? So the perception of other people to how you actually look versus how you think you actually look. And let me explain the concept behind why that's asked that way. It's because women are inundated with messages from men who want to have sex with them all the time, every day, 24 hours, 7 days a week. Because of this, you can run into a problem which is unique to females because they have this superpower called female narcissism. And the reason that this ends up happening is because so many simps will constantly inundate their DMs that after a while they start to actually believe the bullshit. So this is why you end up having a room full of women who are, they could be burn victims with their tongue hanging out of the left side of their cheek and have a hunchback, and they go, I'm a 10. And you go, what are you, on crack? Well, no, not really. It's not that they're on crack, right? Even though you would think so. It's because there's still some simp somewhere who's like, I gotta fap to this chick. That's my thing. I love when they have burns and their tongues hanging out and they have a hunchback. And so they believe the bullshit.
And
That's
this is
the point
why-
of the question.
And this is why I tell any girl that asks me that they want to be a dancer that just do it, because in the club you're always going to find somebody that messes with you.
Right. That's exactly right. And so now you understand the point. Now you understand the reasoning. Do you even have an objection to the reasoning, or does it make sense?
It makes sense. Guys, gas us up.
Now, hang on.
I get that,
I'm
but
talking
I
to
don't
her.
agree with that point, though. Like, you're like, oh, because we're all narcissists. I think it's deeper than that. I think it's like,
No. I'm not saying you're all narcissists. Wait. Don't straw
women
man
that
the
see
position.
themselves as a 10. is
No,
what
no,
I'm saying.
What I'm saying specifically is this, and I'll demonstrate it real quick before you respond. If you took your phone and the amount of DMs you get on social media to most any random man, and you were to compare how many men contacted you for some type of sex versus how many women contacted them for some type of sex, who do you think would be way ahead? You or them?
You know what's interesting about this? So I've heard
Let her
that.
answer, let her
Okay.
answer.
I'll answer after.
I don't understand how you're even phrasing that.
If you took your phone and the amount of men who DM you to say, oh, you're beautiful, you're a queen, oh, you're great, oh, I wish I could date you, oh, I'd like to have sex with you, et cetera, and you were to compare that with any random guy's phone on the street, who do you think would come out ahead?
Of course, the girls.
Of course, the girls. So
Yeah, 'cause
you
it's a
can
diff-
assume
it's a
then that
social
if you have that much attention
structure,
one
like,
way,
that's
that it would be
society.
much easier for the one sex to believe in a delusion than the other sex because they're not being gaslit nearly as much.
I don't think it's
Right?
about delusion, though. I don't think that's the answer or like conclusion to that. It's like you're
ever seen
kind
this-
of the way you're saying it is like degrading. You're like, well, they're saying they're a 10 because they're a narcissist. Rah. Like,
No, they say you're 10
how
because
is
they want to have
that
sex
like
with you.
even a conclusion?
No,
Like that's
guys
kind of like messed up.
it's called juicing you up, right? They're razzing you up and telling you the most beautiful girl in
Gassing
the
you
world
up.
because they want to have sex with you. That's why they do that. And so what it does, if you have enough of that male attention, it jacks up your estimation of yourself. Men don't have that. They don't have the inundation of people jacking their self-esteem up. And so it seems that they have a much clearer objective standard of their state in the world when it comes to objective beauty, and women seem not to.
I don't think that's true.
Hang on, let her respond. Let her respond.
First of all, like, let's just clarify. You mean not all men, though, because I know men that are like that. So
No, of course not. Of course,
right.
there's some men out there, of course, that
Okay,
that's going to be the
that's
case, that their ego's through the roof, they're drop dead gorgeous, whatever it is.
Here's
But
what-
that's not in general going to be the case.
Okay.
A woman who's a mid-5 and a man who's a mid-5, if you compare their phones, tell me the truth, who's coming out ahead?
Okay, here's my response.
Answer that question first.
Yes,
Who's coming out ahead? if
I'm
there are
answering
two
that.
mids?
It's women, and it's because
Yeah.
society, in like the structure of civilization and society, men have been on the hunt for women. That's how it's always been. It hasn't been reversed, so that is why. It's,
Yeah, but I mean,
it's
that-
obviously
but that's-
that
but that
women
would
are
still
going
go
to
to
get
my
more attention
point.
because guys are the ones that have always.
It doesn't. But wait,
systemically done
I
that.
think you're missing. I think you're missing some critical context here. It wouldn't really matter why. Let's say aliens. The reason is because aliens made it happen. The reasoning behind it wouldn't matter so much as the fact that it is true. And if it is true, then the results of this are if you have one group who is constantly being gassed up and told you're great, you're awesome, you're sexy, you're hot, et cetera, their estimation of themselves is going to be far different than another group that never hears that, right? That's the point. And that's why I think we end up with these standardized answers, which seem to be delusional.
But you're asking women if they what they think about themselves, but they know their personality, they know how they are. But it's hard to say, oh, just
It's
based
hard
off
to
a photo.
separate that.
Well, is
this
it?
is what
Is
I
it though?
think.
Hang on. You seem like you're kind of based a little bit more in reality, right? Just a bit. So let me ask you.
Hopefully.
Here's the actual question.
Mm-hmm.
If you go and you compared your phone to whatever guy that you randomly met in the street, who's getting more DMs for sex, him or you?
I'm for sure getting more DMs or something.
Oh yeah, you're for sure getting more, right?
Yeah,
Tons
but
more.
it's not.
Now,
it's
do you
just
think
because-
that if you had a person who was always treated a certain way, they were always treated like they were a princess, they were always treated like they were better than the cut of the cloth, they were always treated
Have
a
women
certain
always
way,
been, though?
that could affect their psyche to the
real.
point
Absolutely.
where they might
Women
think
have not.
thoughts,
Yes.
delusional thoughts about themselves that weren't true.
Yes, they're fucking delusional for sure.
Yeah, they're f***ing delusional, and so that's the point of the question. So
It's okay to
if
be a little
every single
delusional if it
chick who
makes your
comes
life
in here
better,
is an
though.
8, if every single chick who comes in here is an 8, then the problem is that everyone's thinking something that isn't true, and we want to know why, right?
But hey,
We
just
all
like I
know
said,
why.
they're an 8 to somebody. So if you want to walk around with that delusion or that reality, that's your reality, then that's what you're living in. So that's fine. If you have,
That's why we didn't
somebody's
ask
ugly
the
as shit and they're
question this
walking
time
around.
about whether or not they're an 8 to somebody.
Another
we asked
thing
about
was-
the wisdom of the crowd of if 1,000 men were judging, not one, 1,000.
You take out number
Then, if we
7.
still get the same answer, then that means there must be some kind of
true.
delusion going
That's a
on
good
here.
point.
You know,
There probably is.
I didn't hear anybody say you can't say number 3 for yourself. You said you can't say 7. I would have said 7
Yeah,
for
well, I
myself,
still
but
don't
I
understand the
wasn't going to
17. I
go
don't know.
down from 7, so I
Well,
went up.
whatever.